Have you ever felt as if you were erased from someone's life, ignored, excluded, or simply forgotten, without any explanation, without closure? You replay every conversation, every gesture, trying to figure out where you failed, but all you get in return is silence. And silence hurts in a strange way, because it doesn't accuse, it doesn't respond, it doesn't explain, it just consumes. We live in a time when everyone is always connected, yet it has never been easier to disappear from someone's life with a single click. And when that happens, when someone walks away without a word, an invisible wound opens. The fear of not being important, of not being good enough, starts to speak louder. But what if I told you that silence can reveal something much greater? Today, you're going to learn what to do when you're ignored or when someone leaves. We'll explore 7 Stoic lessons that helped people over 2,000 years ago transform rejection into strength. You will understand how to stop interpreting silence as an attack, how to rebuild your self-esteem even when nobody validates you, and how to transform every loss into fertile ground for your own growth. Epictetus, born enslaved and stripped of everything, said, "It's not events that hurt us, but the judgment we make about them." Seneca, betrayed by friends and exiled, wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, betrayed even by his own family, chose to respond with peace because he knew, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." If these men, surrounded by greater losses, betrayals, and silences than most of us will ever face, found serenity, why couldn't you? But to get there, you need a new perspective. You need to change your focus. And I assure you, the last lesson of this teaching can forever change the way you deal with rejection. Lesson 1. Silence is not rejection, it's a mirror. There is a type of pain that doesn't scream. It doesn't hurt outwardly, but it slowly eats away at you inside. It's the pain of being ignored. When someone walks away without explanation, when you send a message and get no response, when silence replaces the bond that once existed, your mind begins to build storms. The first day you try to rationalize it. The second day you begin blaming yourself. And before long you're trapped in a story where everything revolves around a single unanswered question: what did I do wrong? But here lies the mistake. The other person's silence is nothing more than emptiness. It's you who turns that emptiness into suffering. Seneca said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." And that's exactly what happens. We fill the silence with fears from the past, assumptions that make us feel smaller, interpretations that may not even exist. Marcus Aurelius, on the other hand, taught us to see things exactly as they are, without exaggeration, without drama, without unnecessary decoration. This is where Stoicism becomes an anchor. It doesn't eliminate the pain, but it prevents your mind from turning it into something much larger than it is. Silence by itself has no voice. The meaning we attach to it comes from us. Absence of response is not always rejection. Sometimes it is only a mirror, and a mirror never shows the other person, it shows you. Silence exposes your insecurities, your need for approval, your fear of not being enough, your anxiety to fill a void that perhaps neither the other person nor anyone else could ever fill. If you face that silence with this perspective, it becomes poison. But if you change your perspective, it becomes medicine. Picture a great oak tree on the top of a hill. For a long time it provides shade, shelter, and food for the birds. But eventually the birds fly away, not because the oak failed, but because seasons change, and the oak remains. It doesn't beg for their return. It doesn't change what it is to please them. It stands tall because it knows its value lies in its roots, not in who comes and goes. You can do the same. You can stop running after those who left. You can stop begging for explanations that may never arrive. You can finally accept that not every absence is an attack and not every silence is personal. Marcus Aurelius said, "Accept whatever comes to you, woven in the pattern of your destiny." Sometimes the one who walked away is confused, overwhelmed, or fighting their own battles. Sometimes they simply chose a path where you no longer fit. Yes, that hurts. It can wound deeply. But pain is not proof that you lost your worth. It's only a reminder to return to yourself. You have two options: sink into the pain of absence or bloom in the space it left behind. Use the silence either as an excuse to keep suffering or as fertile ground to grow in quiet strength. If silence reveals something, let it reveal your strength. Let it show that you no longer need to bend yourself to be accepted, nor deform yourself to be seen. Let it prove that it's time to stop begging for emotional crumbs and start building your inner peace, not as an emergency plan, but as your foundation. The Stoic lesson is not about ignoring pain. It's about not giving your emotional life over to someone who no longer wishes to walk beside you. Their silence does not define who you are, but your response to that silence does. Lesson 2. No one defines your worth. One of the deepest wounds when someone ignores or distances themselves from us is the feeling that our value has been diminished. We begin to believe the lie. If they left me, if they no longer speak to me, if they no longer respond to me, then maybe I am not worth enough. But the Stoics taught a radically different truth. Your value does not depend on external approval. Your worth is not something others grant or withdraw. It is something inherent, rooted in your character and the way you live. Epictetus reminded his students, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." He meant that if you live by your principles, you must be willing to endure the disapproval of others. Because approval is fickle, it shifts with emotions, circumstances, and opinions. But your inner dignity can remain constant. Think about it. A diamond tossed aside in the dirt does not stop being a diamond. Its brilliance is not erased simply because someone failed to see it. And the same is true for you. If someone walks away, it does not erase your value. It only reveals their inability or unwillingness to recognize it. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, surrounded by betrayals and false friends, reminded himself, "The opinion of 10,000 men is of no value if none of them know anything about the subject." In other words, the judgments of others are often shallow, incomplete, and based on appearances. Why should you surrender your self-worth to such fragile foundations? When someone ignores you, you are tempted to chase after them to prove your worth. But here lies the paradox. The more you chase, the more you confirm to yourself that your value depends on their recognition. And the more dependent you feel, the weaker you become. The Stoic path is different. Instead of chasing, you turn inward. You remind yourself, "My worth is not up for debate. It does not rise or fall with anyone's attention. It is anchored in who I am, not in who stays or leaves." Here's a practice. 1. Daily affirmation. Each morning, remind yourself, "My value is intrinsic, not negotiable." 2. Detach from praise and blame. If someone praises you, accept it with humility. If someone criticizes or abandons you, accept it with serenity. Neither changes your essence. 3. Live with integrity. Measure yourself not by how many stay by your side, but by whether you live according to your values. That is the only true standard of worth. Remember, the one who ignores you does not hold your value in their hands. They only hold a mirror that reflects your insecurities. If you no longer hand them that power, you reclaim your freedom. Seneca said, "He who despises himself is despised by others." So stop despising yourself every time someone withdraws their attention. Instead, treat yourself with the respect you wish from others, and soon you will no longer be enslaved by their silence. Your worth is not theirs to decide. It is yours to live. Lesson 3. Don't chase those who walk away. When someone pulls away, our instinct often whispers, "Run after them, explain yourself, convince them, do whatever it takes so they don't leave." This reaction is deeply human, but it is also one of the surest paths to losing your peace and dignity. The Stoics would say, "Do not chase those who walk away." Why? Because chasing is a form of slavery. It means handing over your emotional freedom to someone who has already chosen to distance themselves. Epictetus taught, "Never chain your happiness to something not in your control." And what could be less in your control than the will of another person? If they want to leave, no words or pleas can guarantee they'll stay. To chase them is to tie yourself to what you can't govern. Marcus Aurelius, who was often betrayed even by those closest to him, reminded himself, "If someone does not want to walk with you, let them go. The universe itself moves on, and so must you." He knew that life flows forward, not backward. Holding on to those who have chosen another path only weakens your steps. Think of it this way: if you must beg someone to stay, then their presence is no longer genuine. It becomes a forced presence, one that carries resentment or indifference. And forced presence is no gift. It's a burden. Seneca said, "It is better to be despised for what you are than loved for what you are not." If you have to distort yourself to keep someone by your side, you are not being loved. You are being tolerated. And that is not worthy of you. Here's how to practice this Stoic lesson. 1. Respect free will. If someone leaves, allow them to go. Do not resist what life is showing you. 2. Redirect your energy. Instead of exhausting yourself chasing after those who leave, invest in those who freely choose to stay. And above all, invest in yourself. 3. Remember your dignity. Begging strips away your self-respect. True strength is not in clinging, but in letting go. Picture a river. The water flows constantly. If you try to hold on to a single drop, you'll end up with nothing but emptiness in your hands. But if you let the river flow, it will always carry new waters, new opportunities, new people. The Stoics remind us that life is too short to spend it chasing those who have already chosen absence. Let them walk their path, while you continue yours with dignity. Write this as a principle. Those who leave are not my chains. They are proof that my freedom is intact. Because the moment you stop chasing, you discover something powerful. You were never the one being abandoned. You were the one being freed. Lesson 4. Pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. When someone ignores you or distances themselves, pain is natural. To deny it would be dishonest. The Stoics never taught us to suppress our humanity or to pretend we feel nothing. On the contrary, they accepted that pain is part of life. But here's their crucial distinction. While pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Epictetus explained it clearly. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The sting of rejection or abandonment is real. You can't avoid it. But the endless suffering that follows often comes not from the event itself, but from the story we attach to it. Pain is the first wound. Suffering is the wound we reopen day after day by replaying the memory, asking "why me?" or imagining scenarios that may not even exist. Marcus Aurelius put it this way: if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. Think about it. Someone ignores you. That's the fact. You tell yourself, "I must not matter. I must be unworthy." That's the interpretation. And that interpretation creates suffering far deeper than the event itself. Seneca taught, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." And isn't that true? Most of our suffering comes not from what happened, but from what we believe it means about us. So how can we apply this Stoic wisdom? 1. Acknowledge the pain. Do not deny it or pretend to be indifferent. Feel it fully, but recognize it for what it is, a passing sting, not a permanent scar. 2. Separate fact from story. The fact: someone left, someone ignored you. The story: I am worthless because of it. Learn to discard the story and keep only the fact. 3. Choose your response. Instead of feeding suffering with rumination, redirect your focus. Ask yourself, what can I learn? How can I grow stronger from this? pain visits everyone, but suffering is a choice. It's like being pierced by an arrow. Pain is that first strike. Suffering is when we grab the arrow and drive it in deeper ourselves. The Stoics remind us, pain will come, but it doesn't have to dominate your life. You cannot control who stays or who leaves, but you can control the meaning you assign to their absence. And in that meaning lies your freedom. Write this truth in your heart. I may feel pain, but I refuse to prolong my suffering. Because strength is not the absence of wounds. It's the refusal to let them define your life. Lesson 5. The one who leaves makes room for what's meant for you. When someone ignores you, distances themselves, or abandons you, the immediate reaction is to see it as pure loss. You think, I've been rejected, something has been taken from me, a part of my life has collapsed. But the Stoics would invite you to see it differently. Every departure, painful as it may be, creates space. And that space is not emptiness, it is opportunity. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Applied here, it means that what seems like an obstacle, a person leaving, can become the very path that leads you to something greater. Think of your life as a house. If every room is filled with people who don't value you, who only take without giving, who drain rather than nourish you, where will there be space for those who truly belong? Sometimes, life clears out those rooms for you, even if it hurts, so that you can finally welcome what you deserve. Seneca said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." What feels like an ending today is only the opening of another chapter, but you won't see the new if you keep staring at the closed door. The Stoics remind us, nature is always in motion, seasons change, rivers flow, the stars revolve in their courses. Why then do we resist when life also changes the people around us? Those who leave are not stealing your destiny, they are making space for it. Here's how you can practice this. 1. Reframe loss as clearing. Instead of thinking, "They left me," remind yourself, "Life removed what no longer belonged so I can grow." 2. Trust the flow. Just as winter makes way for spring, absence makes way for new presences. Trust that life is not emptying you, but preparing you. 3. Focus on what remains. Instead of obsessing over who walked away, look at who stayed, and more importantly, look at yourself, who continues. Imagine a garden. If the gardener never prunes, the branches grow wild, blocking the sunlight. It's only when branches are cut away that flowers bloom. In the same way, those who leave may simply be the pruning your life needed for you to flourish. Write this as your reminder. The one who leaves is not my loss, but my space for growth. Because the absence of someone is never the end of your life, it is the clearing that allows your destiny to enter. Lesson 6. Inner peace doesn't depend on others. One of the greatest mistakes we make is believing that our peace of mind depends on how others treat us. If they are kind, we feel calm. If they ignore us, we feel anxious. If they leave, we collapse. But the Stoics would call this a form of slavery, because as long as your peace depends on others, you'll never truly be free. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." And mastery of yourself means this: your serenity cannot be at the mercy of someone else's presence, attention, or silence. Think about it. When you tie your peace to the behavior of others, you become like a ship without an anchor, tossed around by every wave of their moods, decisions, and absences. But when you root your peace within, you become unshakable, like a mountain that stands firm no matter how strong the wind blows. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." If you believe that another person's actions can dictate your inner calm, you are handing over the keys of your soul. But the truth is, peace is always available to you, because it begins and ends in your own thoughts. Seneca also warned, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." And isn't that what happens when someone ignores us? We suffer twice, once because of the fact itself, and again because we give it the power to disturb our inner world. Here's how to practice this Stoic lesson. 1. Detach peace from approval. Do not let compliments inflate you or rejection deflate you. Treat both as neutral. They say more about the other person than about you. 2. Anchor in daily practices. Meditation, journaling, silence. These are tools to return to yourself and remind your mind that calm is your responsibility, not anyone else's gift. 3. Redefine solitude. Being alone is not a curse. It is proof that your peace does not depend on external company. Picture a candle in a dark room. If its flame flickers at every small breeze, the room will never stay lit. But if the flame burns steadily, no shadow can overcome it. That flame is your peace. Don't let it be extinguished by the winds of others. Write this principle for yourself. My peace belongs to me, not to others. Because when you finally stop depending on someone else for calm, you discover a priceless freedom. Nothing and no one can disturb your inner fortress without your permission. Lesson 7. True strength is shown in how you respond, not in how you're treated. When you're ignored, abandoned, or mistreated, it's natural to feel powerless. You might think, they hold the power. They decided to leave, to stay silent, to treat me this way. But the Stoics turned this idea upside down. They taught that true strength is never measured by what others do to you. It is measured by how you choose to respond. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." You cannot control whether someone respects you, stays with you, or values you. But you can always control whether you respond with dignity, calm, and clarity, or with desperation, anger, and bitterness. Marcus Aurelius faced betrayal from friends, criticism from enemies, and disappointment even from his own family. Yet he wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Meaning, if someone treats you with contempt, the greatest strength is not to mirror their behavior, but to remain faithful to your character. Think about it. When someone ignores you, they reveal their character. But when you respond, you reveal yours. Their silence is their lesson. Your response is your proof. Here's how to live this lesson. 1. Pause before reacting. When you feel the sting of being ignored, don't rush to respond with anger or pleading. Take a breath. Choose calm. 2. Ask, what would the wise do? Before acting, remember the Stoic model. Strength is not in reacting impulsively, but in responding rationally. 3. Protect your dignity. Never lower yourself to the level of disrespect you received. Your worth shines brightest when you remain unshaken. Imagine a soldier standing guard at the gates of a city. Enemies may attack, but if the soldier abandons his post to chase every insult, the city is lost. That city is your mind. Guard it with discipline. Seneca said, "It is not that things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Daring to remain calm in the face of rejection is not weakness. It is the ultimate act of strength. Write this as your closing principle. The measure of my strength is not how they treat me, but how I choose to respond. Because in the end, rejection and silence do not define you. But your response to them defines the kind of person you become. If these Stoic lessons spoke to you, don't let them remain just words. Put them into practice today. Each silence, each rejection, each loss can become a stepping stone to your strength if you choose to see it that way. If you want to keep walking this path of wisdom and resilience, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next video where we'll keep uncovering the timeless guidance of Stoicism for everyday life. And if this message resonated with you, leave a comment below. Which lesson do you need most right now? Your reflection might be the very encouragement someone else is searching for. Finally, remember this. People may walk away, but your peace does not have to go with them. You already have within you everything you need to live with calm, dignity, and inner freedom.